Social media giant TikTok is introducing a new 60-minute daily screen time limit for users under 18 years old. Joining us now is the cyber safety expert, Susan McLean. Susan, really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you. Why is this necessary? What do we know about the impact of long bouts of TikTok use on a child's brain?
Well, we know that excessive use of technology, any form of technology, can be problematic. And, ways to curb it, because we know that children don't self-regulate. But I can't see it being a solution because you're allowed to opt out. You can put a code in to keep going. And if you put a fake date of birth in and make yourself over 18, you won't be subjected to these restrictions anyway.
Okay, right. So it looks like our kids will be able to get around that pretty easily. As we know, they're a lot smarter than we are often when it comes to matters of technology. So it's not just TikTok you think that we have an issue with here. Is TikTok any worse than other social media platforms like Snapchat and Instagram, for example?
I think the extended scrolling is a problem across the board, but we certainly know that the content that young people are exposed to on TikTok is particularly damaging. The algorithms pump stuff their way that, a school wouldn't be able to show. For example, if a teacher showed this content to a student in school, the parents' feet wouldn't touch the ground. They'd be up to the school so quickly to deal with that. So I think we need to be mindful that the content that they're being fed often is inappropriate. There's certainly issues with body image, especially for young girls. There's eating disorder type stuff. There's the overt and hypersexualization. So it's giving them a very skewed view of normality.
Susan, we know that each child does mature at different ages and boys and girls are different on that front too. But what would you say is firmly too young an age to be on social media? What age should parents be using as a sort of guide?
Well, as a minimum, it's 13. So there's nothing under 13. And certainly I say to parents, please do not help your child to lie, to go somewhere they shouldn't be, which is a known place of risk. So we know social media is risky and dangerous. And we know that at the moment, the issue of online sexual predation is at epidemic levels. So, I don't get why parents put their kids in a known place of risk. Once they turn 13, you can then have the conversation about, is my child mature enough or ready enough for this type of online interactions? Remembering, when you give these platforms to your child, you're giving your child to the world and the world to your child. So we don't just give kids the keys to the car and go, hope for the best, off you go. We've got to be with them. We have to teach them. We have to supervise them. We have to make sure that they're mature enough to understand what they're doing. And the same must apply in the digital space.
So apart from letting children go on these sort of apps in the first place, what are some of the other big mistakes you see often in terms of parents trying to manage their children's activities online and failing?
A lot of parents don't want to say no to their children. I saw a message yesterday online and the question was, my 8-year-old daughter wants Snapchat. Should I say yes? I don't even know why that question would need to be asked. That just is a mind-blowingly stupid question. These platforms are not safe for children. If you're going to put your children on social media after they turn 13, or even if they're going to use things like Messenger Kids under 13, you need to have rules and boundaries. You need to be there with them. You need to be an active participant in their online world. And you need to be able to talk about all these things to them. You need to talk about pedophiles. You need to talk about sextortion, sending nude photos, cyberbullying, because I'm now seeing this in primary school. So don't assume your child will make good choices, because good kids can and do sadly make poor choices.
TikTok was recently banned on government devices. Should we all be thinking twice before using it? Do we need to worry about where our kids' data is ending up?
Absolutely. And I think that if most adults truly understood the data that was being captured by a platform such as TikTok, and where it is going back to the Chinese Communist Party, they would leave in droves. But, it's all too hard. My kid's happy. I might as well just ignore it, because really, can it negatively impact my family? Well, the answer is yes, it can. They collect location data. They know identification data. They will know where your child goes to school, who their friends are. Why would you want that publicly accessible to anyone in the first place, let alone something like a foreign entity such as China? And, the USA have not taken this decision lightly. Certainly, TikTok has been banned on military-owned devices for a long time. They've now made it for governments. Canada are looking at it as well. So, it's the same as the Australian government saying, well, you know what, all the security cameras that are linked back to a Chinese company, we're not using them anymore. So I think as society has progressed, as we've become more mature about risks and dangers, we are realising that we do need to be more protective of what data we have and where it's going.
Susan, could all of this be nipped in the bud a bit earlier if parents put off giving their child phones? Do you have a strong view on when is a good time for a child to get a phone? Often parents like to track their kids and like to be able to communicate with them, but should we be holding off on that front as long as possible?
I mean, yes, you should. There's a very big difference between I need a phone and I want a phone. Parents make the mistakes and they'll say to me, oh, but my kid has to have a phone. It'll keep them safe. Phones are not safety devices, right? Phones are handy. And phones can be helpful. Hey, mum, I missed the bus. That is helpful and handy. But your child is not going to be able to whip out their safety phone and text you if something bad's about to happen. It's simply not possible. Excuse me, predator, just wait till I give mum a ring before you attack me. So I think it lulls parents into a false sense of security. I think absolutely by the time your child hits secondary school, when they are more independent, might be walking to and from school, they're now on the bus after school sport, a phone is a helpful and a handy device. But you can still purchase a dumb phone, which makes and receives phone calls and nothing else. So that is always a good place to start until they exhibit the degree of responsibility when it comes to technology use. But you are opening the whole wide world and everyone in it to your child the minute they have that internet connection.
Susan McLean, I've certainly been taking notes. I'm sure a lot of our viewers have as well. Some very useful tips there. Really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. Thanks so much.
That's my pleasure.